think mindful that the Black Friday phenomenon appears to be a staple part of the UK retail calendar these days. We wanted to spend a little bit of time just to look at how that's affected, as Lara says, consumer purchasing behaviours over Christmas, and hopefully give a little bit of food for thought for you guys in terms of how you can plan for your own Black Friday periods next month. So the first thing to say is that on Black Friday in 2015, for the first time ever, there was more than £1 billion worth of online spend, which actually indicates a growth of 35% from 2014. So further proof that Black Friday appears to not only be here to stay, but to be growing. But one thing that maybe you might not be aware of is that the Cyber Monday spend is just shy of £1 billion online. But actually, the Saturday and Sunday in between, cumulatively, is worth more in terms of online spend than Black Friday or Cyber Monday on their own. And that's basically retailers extending their discounts over the course of the entire weekend. So it's a 4-day phenomenon. It's not just Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So this is a graph from our sister company, Conversant's holiday shopping report. It's a pretty simple graph, but I think it does what we need it to do, which is to show that the periods when consumers are spending over Christmas is shifting earlier. So you can see those two marked peaks on the graph where you might have expected to see those in recent years more towards Christmas and Christmas sales, Boxing Day sales. You can see that they are far and away the biggest peaks in terms of sales, sort of from the middle of November through to the end of December. So when spend is occurring is shifting earlier in the Christmas period. So I've sort of covered those top 2 points. It's worth saying that it's not necessarily the case that there is more spend over the Christmas period as a result of Black Friday. When the purchases are happening, as I said, is moving earlier. But I'll talk about some examples of people who have seen incremental sales as well. But don't just assume that because spend is moving earlier, it's fine, the rest of the sales will come later on in the Christmas period. And again, I'll talk through some examples of what some people in this room and people on the high street have seen. Shoppers are moving from in-store to online. So last year, I think there was a 25% growth in online sales over the course of the Christmas period. So what that meant in terms of sort of share, if you want, of total spend is that online is now just shy of 50%, with in-store being just over 50%. And I think next year we might see, or this year we might see, for the first time, online actually becoming the predominant way in which customers are placing their spend with retailers. And the last thing to mention is David McCorkdale from KPMG said this. Essentially, consumers are hooked on a diet of discounts. They expect it, and they're prepared to wait for it. So as I said, I was going to talk through some examples, because I think this is always the most helpful way to see what other people are doing and how it's been affecting their businesses to start to think about how you can approach it. So Lynn from Damart, who was speaking earlier on, I don't need to introduce Damart again, basically saw that the majority of their competition were on average doing a discount of about 30%. So what that meant was sales were moving earlier on into the Christmas period, and that had a direct knock-on effect for their final 4 weeks of their Christmas trading period. Dara from JD Williams, I'm sure JD Williams needs no introduction, but another massive home shopping business, said that they saw very much the same and will plan for that going forward. But interestingly, they've seen an opportunity for incremental sales. And that's a really key thing. So I said that not everyone sees this, but JD Williams have. And that leads on very nicely to what Rob, who's sat in the front row here, said to us about their experience of Black Friday. Madeline are a premium women's wear brand. And they actually see Black Friday as absolutely crucial to their business, particularly from a market share gain perspective. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, that retailers over the course of the year, every year, no matter when it is, face the conundrum of how do we foster relationships with consumers that are going to be of the highest value to us, that are going to buy at the highest price point, going to buy most frequently, etc. But also, you've got these sort of discounting periods that are really crucial, and there's a significant amount of spend that's going around that if it's not coming to you, is going to go to your competitors. So actually, there's a really interesting opportunity to gain your market share over your competitors over these 4 days. And actually, I just wanted to mention the experiences of some other brands as well before I move on, who maybe aren't in the room. But so Argos participated in Black Friday last year, and they saw a 45% jump in Black Friday sales. But that didn't really affect their year-on-year sales for the 18 weeks up to the 3rd of January. So again, going back to what we said a slide before, sales are moving earlier, but for them, it didn't impact how much they were selling over the whole Christmas period. Primark didn't participate, but actually they saw an increase in footfall in stores over the Black Friday to Cyber Monday weekend. So interesting that actually there might be a knock-on effect for retailers, even if they don't participate, that there's an increase in sort of interest, an increase in spend in retail, and people are potentially still going to spend more, even if you're not offering a discount. And the last one to mention was Asda, so a model that might not be applicable to everybody in the room, but a nice example of how you can behave differently around Black Friday in terms of how you talk to your customers, potentially just to differentiate yourself from your competitors. So what they did was they actively didn't participate in Black Friday, but they extended their discount period over the whole of Christmas. And they made that very clear to their customers. Now, you could argue that Asda extend their discounts over the course of the entire year. But it's an interesting approach to actually use that just almost from a marketing-only perspective to say, hey, look, we're here and we're doing something a bit different. Because as we know, sometimes just a simple way of differentiating yourself from your competition can be the key to getting the sale and not. So the purpose of this was to talk about Black Friday and how that's impacted Christmas sales. So I wanted to focus more on that, but I thought it would be remiss of us to get up here and spend 10 minutes talking about that and not remind people of the importance of all the existing factors that will come into your Christmas strategy every single year. They still exist. They still need to be thought about. They still need to come into your planning, and weather is a huge part of that. So for those of you that were here for, I think it was in our Insights event in October last year, we had a company called Planalytics who model weather patterns for retailers and marketers to use in their marketing strategy. So for those of you that haven't been to our YouTube channel, I'd highly recommend having a look when you get back into the office tomorrow or on the train home tonight or whatever. It's a 15, 20-minute presentation, but some really interesting ideas in there. But this is a graph from them, and it basically shows that last December was the hottest December in the UK on record. So brands like Bon Marche and Primark and Next all reported a drop in their Christmas sales, year-on-year Christmas sales, because of the unseasonal weather. And H&M have actually just reported in the last couple of weeks, similar, what's happening there? How do I stop that happening again? Maybe I'll just stand still, have reported a similar thing for September. I was in Norfolk a couple of weeks ago, 26 degrees, 27 degrees every day, unseasonably warm for September. So in terms of some key takeaways, I think the first thing to mention is Black Friday is getting increasingly harder to ignore. I think we all know that. Spend is shifting earlier on into the year. That, again, is another key thing. So if you're not thinking about Black Friday, there is a significant amount of spend happening, and it's happening more online than it ever has before. So again, a real opportunity for you to think about what you're doing in terms of growing your e-commerce sales over the Christmas period. The second point is the one personally I find most interesting, going back to what Rob said from Madeline, which is that there is an opportunity to grow your market share. So if you're thinking, well, we're not really a discount brand, we don't really want to offer that to our customers, we don't really think that is how we want to come across, well, that spend might then be going with a competitor. So even if that's a customer that's never going to convert to be your highest lifetime value buyer, there could still be spend that you can get from them. And the last thing is, don't forget the weather. Don't forget everything that you already do. Don't let Black Friday cloud your judgment. It is here, but so is everything else that you've known and done for years. So make sure that you don't get distracted by everything that's going on there.